All right. Hello, hello. If we haven't met before, I am Megan Rowe. I'm the manager at St. Jude Wellness Center. I'm a registered dietitian. And today we are talking about lifestyle interventions for your skin. So every month at the Wellness Center, we try and focus either on a condition, like condition management, or an area of the body. And because we have so many different things that we do here, we have a fitness staff, we have a bodywork staff, we have the nutrition staff, and we all kind of come together in all these different programs. And so we try and focus on the integrative lifestyle workings of helping with condition management or preventive health. And so this is kind of a new one for us. We were focusing on skincare. Our esthetician is probably the newest member of our team. She came on 2 years ago. And so the whole team has been learning a lot about skin health, skin care, and how each of those pieces, nutrition and movement and stress and sleep and all of that play a part in our skin health. So if you've not met Martina, our esthetician, she's wonderful, but she gave a great presentation to our cancer wellness group maybe 6 or 7 months ago, and I just loved it, and it was so insightful. So I pulled a bunch of information from her. I interviewed her. I took a bunch of her slides, and then I kind of paired it together with all the rest of the research that I had done. So this is sort of a combo. I'm teaching it, but half the information is from Martina, and we're going to talk about all the different pieces of skin health to help us out with skin, because it is the summer and we are in full-blown skin mode. I feel like right now we're all at the beach and at the pools, and our skin is just being exposed. And I feel like it's kind of more front of mind than the skin is in the winter times. So just some general information for you. If you didn't know, our skin is our largest organ. It is huge. When it's stretched out, the skin is actually about 2 square meters, and it accounts for 15% of our body weight, which I just think is interesting. I just think these stats are kind of cool. I also think it's neat, that picture with the little hand right there, that every single area of your skin is meant to be that way. So the skin on your knuckles is very different than the skin in your neck and the skin on your ears. It's all the right tightness, the right thickness for what that area of your body does. Also, the thinnest skin is on your eyelids. And so, ladies, when we are choosing our eyeliners and our mascaras, we are just letting those things soak into our skin very, very quickly because it's so thin, versus the stuff that you put on your feet. It's pretty thick there. It's not going to absorb quite as quickly or quite as effectively. So what does our skin do? It protects us from our environment. It protects us from chemicals, protects us from dirt, from temperature, from UV rays. It is our just gigantic protective system. It also communicates with our brain. We're going to talk about what a couple of different places that we call the axes of how our skin communicates to us. So we can usually think about, just touching something hard versus soft, sharp, hot versus cold. We realize that that is something that our skin is telling our brain, but our skin can often tell us about emotions as well. And we'll kind of talk about that in a few slides. Our skin helps us regulate our body temperature, as well as regulation of our bodily fluids, and protects our internal organs by being our external layer. So this is what the skin looks like, kind of from a side view of all of the different layers. You have sweat pores, you have your hair follicles, sweat glands. We're not going to get into all of these details. It's not really all super important when it comes to just what we're doing with our body and our lifestyles. But it just is interesting that each little square inch of your skin has all these different layers, all these different components to it. There's 300 sweat glands in every square inch. There's 1,000 nerve endings in every square inch of skin outside of places that have like scar tissue. So you have these nerve endings, which is what I started talking about with emotions. Our skin is truly an emotional organ because it's experiencing all those nerve endings. So if you are incredibly sad, your skin is going to feel tears, perhaps. When you get anxious or maybe scared, you feel the hairs kind of pop up on your skin, right? That's actually feelings that are communicating to our body as well. So our skin is a very emotional organ. It's made up of all of these different things, including collagen, and we'll talk about how collagen relates to what we eat in a little bit. Also interesting to note is that our skin has its own microbiome. So you may have heard the term microbiome, especially if you've attended any gut classes with us. Oftentimes we're thinking of our stomach as the microbiome, but every single area on our body has its own microbiome, its own set of bacteria, both good and bad, that do different jobs. And so our gut is the main one, it's the biggest one, but our brain shares a microbiome with our gut. Our mouth has its own combination of bacteria that are part of its microbiome that does jobs differently in the mouth than the stomach needs. And our skin has its own microbiome. So when we get to the nutrition side of things in a few slides, it's important to know that we are feeding bacteria also on our skin. So we want to be thinking about how to promote a really healthy bacterial environment, not just in our gut, but on our skin as well. The other thing to note about your skin and its makeup is its proximity to your lymphatic system. So if you're not super familiar with your lymphatic system, that is essentially a huge piece of your immune system. Your lymph is where your body detoxes things. So your lymphatic system is a network of organs, vessels, tissues that enhances your body's immunity by filtering things out. It is your detox system. And unlike our body's blood pathway, our cardiovascular system that has a pump, it has a heart that's pumping the blood around to the body. The lymph does not have a pump. It's just the lymph node. So it's all over the body, but it has to we have to move in order for our lymph to move. That's where we get things like lymphedema, where it's all kind of congested. Let's say if you have lymphedema in your arm, it may be that your arm isn't able to move enough to move that lymph around, which is where massage therapy can come into play, because they can physically, literally move that lymph over to the other side of the body. Also, whether or not our lymph nodes, the passages where they exit the body, are open is really important. So that's where problems arise with things like deodorant that are blocking the lymph nodes in the armpits and creating it to where it's really difficult for us to sweat. We're blocking those lymph nodes and blocking our body's ability to detox, which is where we'll sometimes get things like irritation and acne in those areas. So it's just important to know that this really critical immune pathway and detox system lies right under the skin, right there. So all you really have to do to kind of stimulate your lymph system, you could do it with me right now, is stick your arm up and you just gently take your fingertips and glide them down towards your armpit. And guess what? You're making your lymph move towards your lymph nodes. That's all you got to do. Really, really gentle, like a nice little back scratch that you might do, like when someone's putting you to bed, giving you a gentle back rub. It doesn't have to be deep. We'll talk about some other ways to stimulate that lymph pathway. But those nodes in general are kind of in your neck area, your armpits, and your groin. Those are the main lymph nodes. So anytime you can get those areas moving and kind of stimulate the skin, the better. So here are some common skin conditions, and more than likely, we've all experienced some of this at some point because we're human. So acne, dehydration, dry skin, eczema, pigmentation issues, itchy, peely, flaky skin, wound healing, psoriasis, rash, rosacea, and sensitivity. All of these are responses to inflammation. So if you've been to any talk I've ever given, I usually talk about inflammation in at least in a little bit. The idea of inflammation is there is something harmful that triggers it. So let's say you get a scratch on your skin and it bleeds. So it opens up, you have a little bit of a scratch on your hand, let's say a paper clip or a paper cut even. What happens next is you have that kind of red inflammation that then pops up around the wound. And that is a healing process, that inflammatory process. It'll become red and swelly, maybe even itchy, have warmth, possibly be a little painful. That's the inflammation until that goes away. That's your immune system coming to the rescue. But when we have a lot of inflammation going on, then we have almost as if your paper cut is being cut over and over and over again, not being able to heal. And that's when you get this sort of weird, scarred, bumpy looking thing on your skin that's not quite healing. That can go on the inside as well. So this is what we call chronic inflammation. When we have inflammation going on the inside of the body, it can go to all of these different types of chronic conditions on your left. We can be talking about cancer, neurological conditions, diabetes, pulmonary diseases, bone conditions, metabolic disorders, autoimmune, cardiovascular. Most people are at least somewhat familiar with this relationship of chronic inflammation and chronic diseases. What we don't often think about is its relationship to the skin. So that gut microbiome, That chronic inflammation within the bloodstream relates to the immune system, and every single time is going to result in an eruption in the skin. We're going to have an inflammatory reaction in the skin, and that is where things like rosacea, acne, psoriasis, all those conditions on the last slide, those show up not just on their own. Typically, it's not just because you're super sweaty. It's because we have some sort of inflammation going on that is not being addressed, and the skin is the first place where that shows up because that is where the body is trying to detox those things that are causing the inflammation. And as was noted on this last slide real quick, down at the bottom, skin is an ever-evolving organ. So you may have an inflammatory condition. Let's say you get a virus. You may have a skin condition 3 months later because that's finally when your body on the inside is healing, but it's still detoxing and pushing some of those toxins out, so your skin is not. So that's where sometimes we have like, why on earth am I suddenly getting these red bumps on my elbows? We all tend to have like those special types of skin things that are unique to us. Some people are more acne, some more rosacea, some psoriasis, but it's always going to be somehow related to something going on in the inside of the body. So if you really pay attention, a lot of times you can even notice triggers. You'll notice when something erupts, and you might be able to tie it to something else. So knowing all of that, there are lots of things we can do for our skin. First of all, what we put in our skin. So whether that's food and whether that's hydration, what we put on our skin from products to sun protection, and then how we actually go about taking care of our skin. What is the process? What is the ritual? How are we dealing with our stress resilience with all of this? So we're going to go through all three of these categories because each of these are really important. The eating, the hydration, the products that we're using, and then how we're using it, because we want to make sure that we're kind of addressing that whole body health so that we are helping our skin to get better. So first things first is the food itself. Overall, we want to be looking at our gut health and our brain health. All those things that we've been talking about in the past couple of months are the same recommendations as our skin health. So we're looking at anti-inflammatory eating. There's no special skin health diet that's different than anything else I ever talk about. So in general, the plate should look like half of the plate is produce. Your produce is 5 cups or more per day. So if your half of your plate is produce at every single meal, you should be hitting that. So your produce is where you're getting your fiber. Your produce is where you're getting your phytonutrients, and this is helping our gut to be really, really healthy, and this is helping our immune system to be healthy. A quarter of the plate is protein. That can be a mix of plant and animal proteins. If we choose animal proteins, we want high quality animal proteins because we as animals, if I'm telling you to eat an anti-inflammatory diet and you're eating an animal, that animal should be eating an anti-inflammatory diet. Because if that animal is eating a processed food diet, just as if we were eating a processed food diet, that animal is going to have chronic inflammation and be somewhat sick and probably have somewhat sick animal products that you are eating, inflammatory animal products. So the way that we eat high quality animal products is grass-fed or pasture-raised animal products. You're looking for that label on your animal proteins, and then your plant proteins are the rest of it. Your beans, legumes, edamame, soy. That can be a combination. Everyone's going to be a little bit different in what that combination is that's right for them. And your skin will tell you. If you are constantly experiencing acne and you've done a lot of the rest of the lifestyle piece that we'll go over in the rest of this, you're being really healthy with your sleep, you're doing the stress resilience, you're moving a lot, you're helping your lymph nodes, you're still having acne, it may be we need to shift the type of proteins. If you're having a lot of acne and eating a lot of animal products, maybe we need to shift that. Or maybe on the flip side, if you're not eating any animal products at all, and maybe that you're not quite getting enough of the B vitamins and omegas, and we need to bring a little bit in. So that's where you work with the dietitian to see what is that right combination for you. But still, a quarter of the plate is proteins. And then the other quarter of your plate is split between healthy fats and starches. So that's not a lot of starches. You'll note that because we're getting a lot of starch in our fruits and vegetables as well. And so it's really more of just that little slice, which per meal is about 1/3 of a cup of things like rice or pasta, bread, tortillas, potatoes. We're looking for the least amount of processing possible. Okay. And then our healthy fats, very, very important for the skin. If you are on a fat-free diet for a very long amount of time, you'll notice changes in your skin because our skin is made up of cells that require fat. So this does not mean just pour butter all over everything, but it does mean that we need to include some healthy fats so that those cells can be nice and plump. Because oftentimes when you see people with really dry, kind of tight skin that's not plump and voluminous, the number one thing I usually talk about is how much fat is in your diet right now. That's one of their concerns. So healthy fats mean whole fats, avocado, olives, nuts, seeds. And then if you're using oils, cold pressed avocado oil, cold pressed olive oil. And we'll talk about products in a few slides here, but the oils are actually what help the outside of our skin as well. I know it sounds so counterintuitive, but we actually want to be using more of the healthy oils on our skin rather than stripping the oils off. So we'll get there in a few minutes here. Skin superfoods. So plants in general are fantastic. And like I said, some of the really healthy fats, those are your two main categories of very, very healthy superfoods for skin. But these 5 areas have very special nutrients that are incredibly nourishing for some of the things that our skin is made up of. So that one on the top is collagen. Collagen is a type of protein that's made up of some special amino acids that create the connective tissue within our skin. It also creates the connective tissue inside our skin, or inside of our bodies, like the inner linings of our gut. But our skin is made up of this connective tissue that's made up of collagen protein and a few other things. And essentially, collagen is what creates that elasticity, that nice, plump kind of stretchiness of our skin. And if we're deficient in collagen and our intake of collagen, that's where we get that kind of real tight, almost dry, non-flexible, non-pliable feeling skin. Collagen is really mostly available in our animal products, and it's specifically in the bones, the tissues, the tendons of animals, which is where we find our own collagen. So unless you're eating things, like chicken feet and tendons and bone marrow, which is not super, super common in our culture here, you're probably looking at bone broth or a collagen powder as your main source. I do recommend having these on a regular basis. And if you're vegan, you can find vegan collagen powders. Can't really do a bone broth with no bones. So you're probably looking at a powder if you're absolutely no animal products. But I do really like the bone broths as a way of getting collagen because you can put in all of those other nutrients as well. You can put in tons and tons of garlic and plants and vegetables that are also getting phytonutrients into that water. We're going to talk about water in a little bit here, so you're also hydrating yourself with the broth. So you can sip on the broth, you can put it in soups. I like to put bone broth in any of my starches that I'm cooking. So if I'm making rice, instead of water, I'm using broth. If I'm cooking like steaming something with a little water without the steamer basket, if it's just sitting in the water, I'll use broth instead. Even in things like dressings where it calls for, thin with liquid, I'll thin it with bone broth so that you're getting those little bits every single time and it tastes good too. Over on the left here is biotin. Biotin is a B vitamin that's important for a lot of different reasons, but very specifically, it helps our bodies to synthesize fat. And again, fat is so, so important for the cells of our skin. So we want to make sure we're getting enough biotin so that we have all the fats to make these good, healthy, plump skin cells. And it helps, that fat also helps protect our skin from the environment as well. It makes really strong, tight skin cells. So biotin and all of your B vitamins are mostly in animal products. Eggs are an excellent source of that. Same with beef, but you can also get a lot of good biotin in bananas, avocados, leafy greens, and berries, also, as well as nuts and seeds. So they're kind of in smaller amounts there, but if you're having a lot of those on a regular basis, you're going to meet your biotin needs. But this is where sometimes people who are looking for better nails, hair, and skin might be taking biotin supplements. That's why. It's because it's helping to create those good fatty connected skin cells. And you can find supplements as well, especially if you're following a very strict plant-based diet. You might not be getting quite enough biotin in. EGCG, which is always so hard for me to say. I always want to mix up those letters, but that is a phytonutrient, specifically an antioxidant that you can find in a lot of green leafy herbs, but really high concentrations in green tea, which is why green tea gets such a good health halo around it, because it's really high in this one type of antioxidant, EGCG, that helps our cells protect themselves. So it helps their skin when it does get a toxin in it to get rid of that. So it kind of gets rid of all the free radicals. Omega-3s are just a very special anti-inflammatory fat that we don't make on our own unless we eat it. So we have to eat omega-3s. It's called an essential fatty acid. There's actually been some research done that shows that those who have higher intakes of omega-3s have less skin aging. And skin aging was defined as wrinkles, tightness of skin, and even discoloration. So the more omega-3s, the better. And the best source of omega-3 is going to be your fatty fish, like salmon, sardines, oysters, mussels, even some tuna. So if you don't eat fatty fish 2 or 3 times a week, you will probably want to get a supplement because it's just really hard to meet your omega-3 needs only through things like flaxseed and chia seed and hemp seed and eggs and leafy greens and broccoli, which are all good sources as well, but just so much lower in quantity than your fatty fish. And then finally, fermented foods. We kind of touched on the gut and the gut-skin axis and the gut-skin-brain axis. They're all connected so tightly. We're eating the same way for all of these things. And there was an interesting study that I found that actually showed that the majority, 85% of people with chronic depression and chronic anxiety had low of a certain type of bacteria that was also shown to be low in people with psoriasis and eczema. So those two things are very related, psoriasis, eczema, anxiety, depression, and they're very much related via their microbiome makeup. So if we're eating fermented foods, we are supporting these really healthy microbiomes, which help us in all of these different things, from mental health to gut health to skin health. So my recommendation for you is a daily dose of fermented foods. And so you choose your favorite. Maybe you love kimchi, maybe you love sauerkraut, maybe it's kefir or yogurt or some sort of other pickled vegetable. If you're going for the pickled vegetables, make sure they're in the refrigerated section. They're not the jarred kinds by the sandwich fixings because those have been heated, so the probiotics have died off. Depends on what the food source is of what the dose is. So kefir and yogurts, your dose is a 1/4 to a 1/2 of a cup every day is a good dose of fermentation. When it comes to your kimchi and your sauerkraut, you really only need 1 to 2 tablespoons a day. So it's a lot less, but that flavor profile is different. So it depends on, what you like, what you can tolerate. But so good for you. Even things like kombucha are good, but kombucha is often highly sweetened. So be sure to read those labels, but try and get a fermented food every single day. And we've got to talk about hydration if we're talking about what's going into the body for our skin, because again, those cells must be plump. So the outside is made of fat. The inside is where the water is. We have to hydrate. And so oftentimes if we're looking at really tight, really dry skin where like your fingers can't even move, that is the first thing we're looking at is hydration there. And you can even do the little skin test where you're like, picking up a piece of skin and seeing how quickly it goes down. And if it snaps back right away, you're pretty well hydrated. If you pick it up and it kind of stays up and slowly falls back down, then we're looking at some dehydration. So hydration is pretty easy. It's water, but you can also count things like broth, things like teas, even some of our more watery fruits, like our citrus fruits, things that are really juicy, will count towards your daily water. But your daily water intake is take your body weight in pounds, divide that by 2, and then divide that by 8 for your total ounces. So the divided by 2 is your cups, and then divide by 8 for your ounces. So depending on if you like to think of cups or ounces, it's probably a little more than what you thought you should be getting typically. And then calorie intake is important too. Not from a hydration standpoint, but sometimes when we see really severe skin conditions like tightness and dryness and discoloration, sometimes it's a matter of malnutrition. So we're not quite getting enough. So do make sure you're eating enough food. So that is your resting metabolic rate. And if you don't know it, you can come to the Wellness Center. We'll do an in-body for you so we can see what that is, plus or minus your activity rate. So it's just, are you eating enough calories for your body to maintain itself? And then it's going to be based on your goals. Are you looking to lose weight, gain weight, be super active, not be super active? Then we might need to adjust your calories. But as long as you're somewhere in the range of your resting metabolic rate, we don't need to worry about malnutrition. But I just wanted to note that it doesn't happen very often. Usually it's a hydration thing, but sometimes it's malnutrition where we have that really tight kind of discolored skin. Okay, so we talked about what's going in the body, what's going on the body. So here are some trivia questions for you. 26, that is the number of seconds for ingredients to go into your bloodstream from the time you put them on your skin. It's very, very quick. It's so much faster than when you ingest something that has to go through the digestion process. When you put something on your skin, it's in your bloodstream in less than a minute. 130 is the average number of chemicals most women are exposed to before breakfast. Why? Because we have all of our fancy skincare products and we're putting on our makeup and our perfume and our lotions. And this is not to say men aren't doing the same thing, but I know I have way more products in my bathroom than my husband does. So that's the average number. 75,000 is the number of new chemicals introduced to the skincare product line in the United States in the past 50 years. And 1938 is the year of the last legislation to be passed regarding personal care products at all. So that's the last time there was any oversight, and yet we're having 75,000 new chemicals introduced. So I always kind of hesitate on this type of information because I don't want to scare anyone. I don't want you to suddenly think you can't put lotion on, you don't know what to look at, because ingredients on personal care products are hard to read. It's not like when I recommend things for food and you can read the ingredients and know, is it real or not? How am I supposed to know if sodium lauryl sulfate is, a good thing or a bad thing? So in general, kind of if you could keep these ingredients in mind of the ones you likely want to be minimizing. Sodium lauryl sulfate, parabens, phthalates, aluminum, propylene glycol, sulfates, and formaldehyde. And like screenshot that and cut it out and put it in your wallet, if you want to, or keep it saved on your phone. Now, if you are exposed to some of these here and there throughout your month, throughout your year, you will be fine. That is the point of your detox process, especially if you are doing things to help your whole lymphatic system work well, which we'll get to. Your body's going to detox all these chemicals. But if every single product you're using has a bunch of these in it, which is not uncommon, especially if we're, getting like Costco size things that we're not reading, then we're indulging in a whole lot of chemical exposure. And then if on top of that, we have a metabolic condition and we aren't moving very well, we're kind of sedentary and we're very stressed and we're not sleeping. It's more of that combined effect of all of these different issues. And now we're adding these chemicals to the fire that may or may not have a pretty intense effect on us. That's where we can get these pretty significant skin conditions. So I list these because these are the ones that have some studies on being related to skin issues, such as eczema, psoriasis, rosacea. They also are often related to when you pull these out, those skin conditions tend to get better. So again, go through your skincare products and just the next time you need to buy something, the next time you need to buy lotion, look for a better one. The next time you need to buy conditioner, don't look at the one you have now. If it's halfway full, just keep using it, finish it off. And the next time you have to buy conditioner, maybe let's find a better one. So how do I do that, Megan? How the heck am I supposed to know? These are some good resources. I really love these databases: EWG, Skin Safe, Beautypedia, Skin Charisma, and Think Dirty. All of them are excellent. You pick the one that meshes well with your brain when you're reading their apps, but you can plug in the brand name. For some of them, like EWG, you can literally scan the little barcode and it'll pop up, and some of them give a grade, some of them give a number value, some of them are like red, yellow, green, but they'll tell you based on kind of those chemicals that I just listed on the past slide, this one's pretty good, this one's really great, this one's yikes, don't buy it. And so it can be a really nice resource for you so that you have a combination of, think of your household should be more of the yellow and the greens, and less of the reds. And if you have that good combination and you're eating well and you're doing some of the things we're going to talk about next with like good just skincare rituals, your skin's probably going to be fine. And these are some other brands. The other thing too is find brands that you can trust that already get rid of that stuff. So you don't have to scan everything in their product line. So Naturopathica, they are only skincare products. They only use organic, non-chemical ingredients. They're who we use for our facials here at the Wellness Center. That's all we use is their line. So I just know I can trust that product line. I don't have to go and dig through their ingredient list because I've read their mission statement. I know what products they absolutely do not use, what ingredients. Primally Pure is another one. Excellent product line. Their whole mission statement is getting rid of synthetic chemicals. A-Cure is a great one, and they are available at Target, which is wonderful because sometimes some of these great brands are only available on their one website. A-Cure is more available. It's kind of a better price point. The Thrive brand, if you're on the Thrive Market online, their own brand gets rid of those top ones that I showed you. Cocoa Kind is another good one, and 365 at Whole Foods, they also get rid of what they call the top 6 of synthetic ingredients in their products. So those are some good ones. There's other great ones out there. You may have found another amazing brand that I've never heard of. So these are not the one and onlys, but these are a good place to get started. So speaking of what goes on your skin, your sun gets on your skin. And this is a big point of debate in the skincare world is sun or no sun. Because we know that sun can be detrimental, right? We're supposed to wear SPF. However, the majority of Americans are significantly low in their vitamin D, if not completely deficient in their vitamin D, because we're not spending any time in the sun at all. We're spending all of our time indoors in front of screens, and we're not getting any of those sun rays to be able to create our own vitamin D. So you do need some sun. You need a little bit without sunscreen. You need that direct sunlight. The best time for exposure is between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. You don't want the mid-afternoon summer rays. Please do not take this slideshow and go take it to your dermatologist and say, Megan told me to go sit outside for 2 hours at 2 p.m. on 90-degree August day. That's not what I'm saying. But in the morning, some direct sunlight without SPF, and it kind of shows you based on where you're living, how much time. For most people, in the summertime, you're looking at 5 to 15 minutes. In the wintertime, where the rays are less direct and less intense, you could probably go up to 30 minutes, somewhere in that time frame. And then you layer up with your SPF. Okay, so you just need a little bit. And again, this is very unique. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. Depends on where you live, what color skin, what tone skin you have, how old you are. The older we get, the less we synthesize our vitamin D, and what your risk of skin cancer is. If you're on a medication that gives you a very high risk of skin cancer, then we need to go about, maybe some different ways of getting our vitamin D. But in general, 5 to 15 minutes in the summer, 30-ish minutes in the winter of direct non-SPF time, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then you put your SPF on, okay? And everyone is gonna have a different need for their SPF, but usually you're looking at SPF 40 to 50 being really the best standard. And this is even if you're indoors. There's been some research on the office lighting, the UVs from office lighting also being detrimental to our skin. So you want SPF even if you're hanging out inside. And then that comes to the rest of the lifestyle piece of things. So the 3 S's of lifestyle skincare are stress, sleep, and SPF. And we talked about the SPF already. So let's talk about stress and sleep. I don't know about you, but I always know if I've been stressed because I get elbow eczema. That is all we call it. My strexema is what my husband calls it, because it's stress eczema on my elbows. I think most people I talk to have something with their skin that pops up, or sometimes something in their gut when they are stressed and when they are anxious. That is just our body's reaction. So the more you can come up with stress resilience practices, the more you can be proactive in those skin conditions not happening. Because then once they're there, once the eczema has popped up, then getting rid of it is a whole nother story, and all these different products we have to do. And if we can prevent it from happening by telling our body and telling our brain we are in a safe space, we are not stressed out, that is a really good proactive way to not have some of these eruptive skin conditions. So some ideas for a stress resilience practice are breath work, meditation, Mindfulness practices, journaling, just setting boundaries, not overextending yourself, and reducing your screen time. These are pick and choose your favorites, mix and match. And then related to stress is how much sleep you're getting. You can eat the perfect diet and you can exercise the most perfect amount of exercise. And if you aren't sleeping correctly, you will have metabolic distress and you will have skin conditions. Absolutely, I guarantee it. So find your age range on this chart. I can't imagine I have anyone that is not in the 18 plus years on this webinar. But in general, you're looking for 7 or more hours of sleep, kind of in that 7 to maybe 10 hours per night. 10 is kind of on the high range of things. But it's also about quality. So if you're getting enough sleep, but you're always feeling really fatigued and you are having those skin eruptive conditions, maybe we need to buy one of those devices where you can actually check and see the quality of your sleep. And with stress resilience comes self-care. And I don't like the word self-care because it's gotten so trendy that now everyone thinks that self-care means you have to go, spend an entire day at a massage. Self-care can mean taking time to journal. Self-care can mean spending time with friends who really lift you up. But self-care can also mean having a professional skincare session. It can mean having a bodywork session and having someone who knows about the skin actually help you with that. So benefits of professional skincare, and this slide came from Martina, our esthetician, but it promotes relaxation. If you've ever had a facial, you know how relaxing it is. But it also can enhance blood circulation. It can promote hydration for very, very dry skin. It can enhance your breathing because you're actually moving with some of the nasal cavities and can push some of that congestion away. If you've ever had a facial, you probably walk out like sniffing because suddenly your nose is dripping. Better sleep, pain reduction, reduced anxiety and depression, socialization, overall skin quality improvement, the lymph. We're going to get to that lymph in a little bit deeper, but it can help to improve that lymph movement. It can reduce symptoms of pain and nausea, and it can actually improve mood and overall outlook. So here's Martina. That's our awesome esthetician. She's here on Tuesdays. She does facials and back facials, which I find fascinating because I never thought about it until she was explaining it to me. But think about what's covered up all the time is your back. And then we all go to the beach with our bathing suits on and we're like, oh my gosh, wow, but my back needs some help back there. That you just kind of forget about it. But it can use some help. She is also a massage therapist and a sound bath practitioner. And she knows how to she's certified in myofascial work for chronic pain and lymphatic drainage. So all of those things put together are fantastic. And these are some of the things that she recommends outside of getting a facial. You don't have to come in and pay the money to get a facial. You can do some of those things and get some of those benefits on your own with what we call rituals, having a routine for your skin at home. So Epsom salt baths. Epsom salt baths means that you are absorbing magnesium through your skin. Magnesium is a transdermal nutrient, meaning it can just soak right through. And remember how quickly things can soak through your skin and get into your bloodstream in 26 seconds, right? So doing an Epsom salt bath means that you're going to get all of those benefits of magnesium, the relaxation of your muscles. So it can help with kind of tremors, or if you're getting a lot of cramping and just plain relaxing. Plus the ritual of taking a bath can be very relaxing. It can tell your brain it's time for bed. The other nice thing about Epsom salt is you don't have to take a full body bath. You can just put your feet in some Epsom salt water and take a little foot soak for 10 to 15 minutes. And that is enough to bring that magnesium in through your body. Masks, you can do that on your own. So look for masks from some of those product lines that I talked about, or use those apps to find some good ones. But you can do that same peeling off of the dead skin that would happen during a facial with a purchase at CVS mask. Teas are wonderful. Teas and aromatherapy, because that is what you are putting into your body via your nose or via your mouth. All of those phytonutrients, all of those good essential oils that are in teas and aromatherapy, that's all creating that anti-inflammatory effect, plus hydration. Steam facials. This is exactly what she does. She said this was her favorite thing, was steam facials to do at home, because you just boil a pot of water, you put your face over it and put a towel over your head, just like you do when you have a congested cold. And it's so good for detoxing the face, and it opens up the pores. And then if you just put a nice oil on afterward, that can be really great and can take the place again of a facial. A routine. Make sure you're following these categories in your skincare routine. Cleanse, and a cleanse should also have an exfoliant in it a couple times a week. It should be a very gentle exfoliant, not those really rough feeling like pumice stone ones, just gentle. Oftentimes the ones made of oats are a good option. Followed by a toner, especially if you're someone who has a lot of rosacea or redness. If not, if you have very even skin, you may not need a toner. Oil, and this is what I started to touch on earlier, is it seems so opposite if you have oily skin to put oil on, but what's usually happening if you have very oily skin is your skin is so dry, your skin is doing everything it can to produce its own moisturizer, so it creates its own oil. But if you instead put oil on your skin, your body will start to absorb it and you won't produce as much oil and you won't be as oily. So things like carrot seed oil, jojoba oil, these are two very good, very skin resilient oils, and they just soak right up. They feel really great. I know I started using oil maybe 6 months ago as a regular daily, and I've noticed a huge difference in how oily my skin is, much less oily. Massage, we'll talk about gua sha and how to do your own skin massage in a second, and then a lotion. And these are just some fun things that you can do if you're not looking to get a facial, but you want that same feeling at home. Ice rollers, you can find those little ice rollers at CVS. If you put them in your freezer and you roll them around, what that does is it helps with inflammation by putting something very cold on, and it also helps by rolling around your lymphatic system. Red light therapy can be very therapeutic, but just make sure you're getting like a high quality vetted red light therapy. You don't want to just buy anyone and everyone. So do some research on what you're purchasing, but red light therapy can help with stimulating the anti-inflammatory immune system within your skin. Skin brushing. So this is that immune system work. So you can just do this, right? That we've practiced. You can just do this, but you can also buy skin brushes, and they look to me like horse brushes. They're very coarse. They're very scratchy, and you don't do it very hard, but you just gently rub all over your body in little circles with a skin brush. And if you do that a couple of times a week, maybe before you hop in the shower, what you're doing is you're getting rid and sloughing off of any old, dry skin flaky cells on the outside, but you're also stimulating and moving that lymphatic system right underneath the skin layer. Okay. So what you want to do too, if you do start skin brushing, is always brush toward the heart so that you're brushing toward those lymph nodes. And then finally, gua sha. Let's talk about gua sha. This is what Martina presented in her presentation. We gave everyone gua shas and everyone was gua shaing together. So gua sha is a type of stone, and it comes in different types of stones. You may have seen them at this point. Sometimes there's jade, there's rose stone, rose quartz, opal, I think is the black one. And all these different stones, because of the consistency and how they can absorb temperature, they are really beneficial for the skin. It's just that same concept of the ice roller, but also you can do two things. You can do it very gently and stimulate your lymphatic system, and it is essentially a lymphatic massage. Or you can do it very tough, and it helps to tighten the skin like a little Botox, and so it's your own face massage. So you promote lymphatic drainage, you reduce tension and pain, you improve the circulation of your face. Very good for relieving puffiness, and it provides an opportunity for a mindfulness practice as well. If you're someone who really struggles with calming down and breathing at night, you do your gua sha routine, you set your timer for 5 minutes and you're just doing the routine, and I'll show you what that looks like. It can help your body to relax. Maybe you have your feet in a magnesium pool while you're doing your gua sha. But this is what that looks like, and I will send these slides to everyone so you can click on that link there and actually follow along. But you just wrote up, down on your neck, side to side on your face, same thing on your nose, up and down, up the forehead, over and around. And you're doing these 3-ish times on each piece of your face and your neck. Again, very gently for lymphatic, or very kind of rough and tough for the muscular and the skin tautness. It feels so good, and it really does give you a bit of a glowing glow. So that is how you can give yourself the same essence of the face massage that you would get in a facial. And finally, because I'm a dietitian, I can't let you walk out without a recipe. So this is my edible beauty slide. This is how you can put some products on your skin that you could also have for dessert. So a chocolate face mask, cocoa or cacao, they're both very high in magnesium. Again, one of those nutrients that's so good for the plumpness of our skin. You mix that with raw honey. The raw is important here for the antibacterial, antiviral effect of it. It also, whether it's raw or not, the honey makes it nice and sticky, so it'll actually stick to your face. 2 tablespoons of avocado, that makes it creamy, so it's not just this sticky honey all over you, and you would get some of those really good healthy fats from the avocado, some B vitamins too. We talked about the B vitamins. And then 3 tablespoons of oatmeal powder for a little bit of that exfoliating feel. And again, it kind of texture-wise makes it more nice on the face, more gentle. And oatmeal gives you a little bit of those B vitamins as well that are all going to soak in. So you just mix it all up, apply it on your face. It looks kind of funny, but do it with your girlfriends or alone and let it just sit there for a minute or two. You could even leave it on for 10 minutes and it'll just harden like a mud mask. And then you just gently wipe it off and it'll feel really, really good afterward. You can also do a salt scrub for your feet or for your knees or your elbows, which is 1 cup of coconut oil. Again, that healthy fat that's being absorbed into the skin. 2 cups of Epsom salt for the magnesium, and that's going to give you the scrubbiness. And then 10 to 15 drops of lavender essential oil, just because it smells so good. And we talked about essential oils also being very good for the nasal cavities, which is good for your skin as well. So you can mix that up. It'll sit for a really long time in a jar, so you could give them out for Christmas presents. And you just kind of rub it on somewhere, rub it on your feet, on your elbows, and leave it on for a minute or two, and then rinse it off. So I like this quote, feed your skin like you feed your body. So try and think of when you're looking at ingredients and choosing products, would you potentially eat this thing? You know, we're always so worried about what we're eating, but we're not worried about what we're putting on our bodies. So with that, I will open up the chat for questions. We have a little bit of time. This is our contact information, and just since it's Skin Month of July, we do have some specials. Buy 1 facial, get $10 off of a back facial this month. We also have some fun skincare goodies at the front desk for $1, and our seasonal scrub is coconut lime. Let me see. Is La Roche-Posay, I think I'm saying that right. I never know. Is that a good brand? It is an excellent brand. I have not looked over everything in their product line, to be completely transparent. I've looked at many of their moisturizers, and their moisturizers are very good. And I think they do have fragrance from what I can recall, but they don't have the phthalates, they don't have the parabens, but you'd have to kind of go through what product you want and utilize one of those databases. I believe my hydration is good. Is there anything that can be done about crappy skin? I don't know. Is that, I don't know, Victoria. The food, everything we kind of talked about, looking at the food. Oh, crepey. I was like, wow, crappy skin. I don't know exactly. So with the crepey skin, hydration, you talked about that. Fats. You may want to look at how much and how good of fats you're getting in your diet, as well as your antioxidants. So are you getting some of those 5 categories? Are you getting the collagen? Are you getting the omegas? Are you getting the biotin? Try drinking some green tea, kind of those 5 areas as far as the food goes. On the outside, especially with crepey skin, I think one of my biggest recommendations would be to try oil. Try getting a really good skin oil, carrot seed oil or a jojoba would be my top 2 recommendations, and do a daily oil, because that could help with that crackly dryness that you might be experiencing. And the oil, you always want to be after cleansing, before lotion moisturizer. It's an in-between, so that you don't want oil going on top of dirty skin, because that would just clog pores, and you don't want it to be the last thing on your face, because sometimes there's that residual oiliness that would just get, wiped off. So you want to put a lotion on top of it. Just to put a plug in, Naturopathica's carrot seed oil, I love it. It's my favorite. We do sell it here, but even if we didn't, and I don't make commission, but it's one of the best products I've ever experienced. So I'll probably always buy that. Would that apply to the body as well? Oil? Yes. Now, this is where I would have to ask Martina as the specialist. I don't know if it matters the type. I'm assuming carrot seed and jojoba are great for the entire body and not just for the face. I know that I use the carrot seed on my elbows when I do get that psoriasis and eczema. So yes, the body does love having oil on it, and I'm pretty sure you can use either of those and it's fine on the face as well as the rest of the body. Just know that, then you have some oily body. So if you're doing it right before bed, you might get some oil on your sheets, but jojoba especially absorbs really fast. We use it sometimes with our massage therapists when they're wanting an oil instead of a lotion, and they use it specifically because it absorbs so quickly and we don't get oil stains on our sheets. So jojoba for that. Can we swing by anytime to see what products you carry there at the wellness center? You bet. Absolutely. We only carry 7 of the products. We carry kind of like the most popular, the ones that are asked for the most, because we just don't have a huge center. But anything that Martina recommends, you can also buy on your own. They're available for you to just purchase through a website. And if you don't have time to swing by, or you live somewhere where that is annoying, you can email me and I can send you which products those are as well. Any other questions? This was a fun topic. This was new for me. This was fun research, and it was fun to talk with Martina and get some of her input. So if you have more questions that popped up, I'm happy to go ask Martina. So you can email me if there's a really, really skin specific question for you. She loves brainstorming about different types of solutions for skin stuff. So I'm happy to ask her. If there are other interesting topics I have not covered in the past, kind of like this, I would love to get your insights. So please do email me, but anyone who is registered, you'll get an email with the link to the recording and today's slides. The recording probably won't be done and synthesized until tomorrow. And then if you're not registered or you're with Mount SAC, it'll be on your Mount SAC wellness website very soon as well. So you're very welcome. Have a great day, a great rest of your week, and go have some fun in the sun for a little bit amount of time. All right, everyone. See you later. Thanks for joining.